You're listening to the Call Kent podcast, where Kent C. Dodds answers questions and gives insights to software engineers like you. Now, let's hear the call.
Hi, Kent. My name is Daniel. I'm from the UK. I just wanted to quickly say how awesome your courses are, how it helped me hugely on my journey into React, especially coming into front-end development with no experience in UI to now having over 2 years experience in the area. All thanks to your courses. Thank you so much and keep up the amazing work. My question is regarding userEvent.setup. So I've upgraded to React Testing Library version 14 recently to one of my projects, and I've seen some changes been made, and one of the recommendations in the docs is to include the userEvent.setup before each test that uses userEvent. I believe if we don't include it, then it's automatically injected into your test for you. I guess, what are the benefits of including it versus not including it? Thank you again, Kent, and have an amazing day.
And that was the call. Here's what Kent had to say.
Hey, Daniel, thank you so much for the really kind words and the question. So to add some context around this, I have not been a maintainer of testing library and userEvent in quite some time. It's been a couple of years, and as such, I kind of absolved myself from being able to make any big decisions and stuff like that, like changes to set up. They do occasionally ask me my opinion on stuff, but I just don't have time to maintain it. And so I'm just eternally grateful for the people who keep the projects going and maintained. And they are, for most intents and purposes, relatively done, but there are changes in, like, React 18 in particular had a number of changes and some nice improvements that have come to userEvent since I stopped maintaining it. So with regard to the setup API, because I wasn't involved in the decision there, I can't speak with great authority, but I can say, based on the documentation, it sounds like there are some elements of state that are closed over when using userEvent. And I know this when I was working on it. We would, like, as you're typing, as you're selecting, navigating between different inputs and things, there's some state that's being created. Like, okay, you hear on this interaction, you're going to hit the shift key, and that shift key is going to be held down while you do these next things. And then you're going to lift up the shift key. And so there's some state that's going on there. And by sharing the same userEvent between different tests, you may inadvertently like hold the shift key down in the previous test, and then in the next test, it actually is already held down, for example. And so by using setup individually in every single test, you're avoiding sharing state between these tests. So if I understand that correctly, I believe that's the reason why they recommend using setup. Then yeah, I completely agree, and you should probably be using setup in every test. It does still technically work if you don't. So I don't think it's a cardinal sin if you don't. But it does make sense to me that you'd want to avoid sharing that state. And from what it sounds like, actually, it calls setup with every interaction. And so there are probably some things that you can't do unless you call setup once and use the result of that. So I'm going to link to the docs for anybody who's listening that's curious about, like, what it is that we're talking about. But hopefully that answers your question, Daniel. Again, thank you so much for the kind words, and thank you for asking the question. I hope you have a wonderful day.
This has been the Call Kent podcast. Learn more about Kent at kentcdodds.com and get your own questions answered at kentcdodds.com/calls.